Schefter joining us with his top stories. Let's start with some bad news for the Jets. What's going on there, Adam?
All right, Laura, at Tuesday's practice, the Jets starting guard Elijah Vera Tucker hurt his triceps. He's undergoing tests, but the team fears it's a torn triceps injury that could require surgery and would end his season. He suffered a triceps injury in 2022. It was the opposite arm. This is a different arm, but it could be the same result. His season could very well be over. Meanwhile, the Green Bay Packers wait to see whether or not they'll have Micah Parsons on Sunday against the Lions. He's preparing to play. He's trying to play. He's prepared to take a pain-killing injection if it means that he has to do that to play. But I don't think anybody thinks Micah Parsons is going to sign a $188 million deal. Green Bay is going to give up what it did, and he's not going to play against the Lions. So look for Parsons to be out there Sunday. And meanwhile, we have our first injury report of the season with lots of little informational nuggets on there. Trayvon Diggs, good to go tomorrow night. Tyler Guyton, good to go tomorrow night. Jalen Carter, good to go. Landon Dickerson, who had knee surgery last month, is going to make it back. He is not even listed on the injury report for Thursday night's opener, so the Eagles will have their ultra-tough, ultra-talented Pro Bowl guard Landon Dickerson trying to open holes for Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley.
That Landon Dickerson news was huge. When we heard that happen a little while ago, we were worried he wouldn't be ready for the opener. As Adam's telling you, he is. So how about this? Just over 24 hours until the Cowboys-Eagles game kicks off. It's almost here, people. The Cowboys only have 4 active wide receivers, but they each bring something different. CeeDee Lamb coming off another 100-catch season. The trade for George Pickens adds a magnet for those tight window throws. Kevontae Turpin, the best return man in the NFL last season, and Jalen Tolbert led the Cowboys in touchdown catches a year ago. Brian Schottenheimer was asked about Pickens and CeeDee playing together yesterday.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch those guys every day in practice. You know, it's fun to watch those guys. But what I love, Todd, is I love the way they feed off one another and they celebrate one another. You know, as we all know, there's one ball. You know, and the ball can't go to multiple spots on a play, and we've got a lot of really good weapons. You know, Terp's having a great, lead up to the season. We're going to run the football. We know that, and so I'm just excited for how much fun those guys have playing the game as Cowboys.
Golly, it certainly looks good, even on the practice field. Dan, what can this Cowboys offense take advantage of against the Eagles tomorrow?
One, take advantage of the unknown. Ryan Schottenheimer hasn't been the play caller in the NFL for 5 years. And Vic Fangio, who's the defense coordinator for Philly, has been around the NFL forever, but there's not really a known of who they're going to be on offense. We've heard all offseason that they wanted to get into more formations and more shifts and more motions and different actions and play actions. The Eagles are guessing a little bit on who you are schematically. So in the game early on, see if you can get into that stuff and use tempo doing it. Use no huddle to do it, to force communication from Philly at home, and maybe that helps you offensively. And the second thing is, I would throw 80% of my passes opposite Quinyon Mitchell. The corner 2 spot, whoever's stepping in for Darius Slay, it should be Adoree Jackson. Now, Adoree Jackson's played a lot of time, a lot of games in the NFL. Certainly not in Philly. There's really only 3 proven guys in that secondary that have played a lot for Philadelphia. I would make sure that I'm taking plenty of shots opposite Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best wide receiver duos that Philadelphia will see all season. It's one of the best, probably in the entire NFL right now with the addition of George Pickens. But it's an inexperienced group collectively in Philadelphia, not in terms of like actual time played in the NFL. But to your point, Dano, like this is some new faces that are going to have to communicate at a high level, which say what you want about Philadelphia's roster. Listen, there are no major roster holes for Philadelphia, but there are a couple of guys who are going to have to earn their stripes. There is no longer a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a Darius Slay, guys who have been there, seen a lot of skins on the wall in Philadelphia. So it's a big test coming out of the gates here for that Eagles secondary. And this Cowboys offense, I know Shotty keeps talking about wanting to run the football, but I'm sitting there thinking to myself, when you got those 2 guys, like,
I would take shots early.
Make them earn it in the secondary.
I love what both of y'all are saying about pushing the ball downfield. Your 2 best offensive weapons are your wide receivers, so it makes a ton of sense. Don't forget about Jake Ferguson either at the tight end spot, trying to exploit some things throughout the middle of the field. But this has to be a play-action balance type of situation for Dak Prescott. You lean heavily more towards the pass. That's why I'm in agreement with you all. But y'all go back and harken back to those conversations we had last year with the Dallas Cowboys. They could not find a run game at all. There needs to be some semblance of being able to do that, especially with an offensive line now that has to be a physical offensive line, and running the football is always easier for these guys. I'm not sure how many times you want to just drop straight back against Philly, especially with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith being up there on that defensive line for them, and Jordan Davis being able to push the pocket as well. So Smith, and you look at all of these guys that they brought in at the running back position, but more important, Miles Sanders returning back to Philly after his Super Bowl year and run that he had with them. I'm looking forward to seeing them have balance for Dak in order not only to protect him, but also open up some of those downfield shots that y'all talk about with CD and George Pickens. And we know what they want to do with George Pickens. Yeah. Get him one-on-one on the outside and let him big boy a defensive back down the field.
Get to some more new on NFL Live. Here's CJ Stroud.
It's every first game of every year. You're excited to show your talent and the new guys and the new stuff you learn, the new schemes. It's a bunch of different feelings, but yeah, I'm really just excited to play again. I'm tired of watching, so yeah, I'm just excited to play. I don't really feel a huge difference, but yeah, just natural jitters and nervousness from just a new season. So.
Stroud preparing for that Rams defense. Marcus, what do you be watching for from the Texans offense?
Well, we know what the critical point is for the Houston Texans, and that's protection. They tried to get this offensive line and re-solidify a little bit. Also got to use Nick Chubb in this run game as well. Joe Mixon was a big part of what they did last year. I don't think you can get away from that. But this team needs to play with leads because they can be dominant defensively if they can get up on opponents early. CJ Stroud, I think you'll see remnants of that rookie year that we saw as long as he has time to push the ball down the field, especially with his new weapon, Christian Kirk, and Nico Collins obviously returning as his number one guy. I'm interested to see, though, how that protection, especially in the heart of that offense, if it was a vast improvement for last year, because he was absolutely mauled by interior pressure all season long.
And also speaking this afternoon, Aaron Rodgers, who was asked if there's a little extra motivation playing against his former team. Here's what he said.
Yeah, it's week one. Well, this is the second new, so it's the new. I'm loving being here. The way that I've been welcomed has been really, really special, from top down to the fans to guys in the locker room and support staff, the men and women that work for this organization. It's been really, really special.
All right, so for more on this, we welcome in our Steelers reporter, Brooke Pryor. Brooke, Rodgers isn't saying much about returning to MetLife, but what are his teammates telling you about the significance of this game?
Well, Laura, I guess I should have anticipated that Rodgers wasn't going to say much about going back to MetLife, because I asked Mike Tomlin yesterday if he could sense that this game meant more to Rodgers, and he said, well, if it does mean anything more than just a normal game, he's probably not going to tell you. So I put on my reporter hat and I asked his teammates if they had a sense that this game means anything more, and Pat Freiermuth told me that it really doesn't seem that way. He said that Rodgers is handling this like a normal game, but he said this whole locker room, they do want to win it for him, but he appreciates, and the locker room appreciates, that he's not adding any pressure, making this game more than what it is, which is a season opener for an offense that didn't take any snaps together in the preseason in game action. Wide receiver DK Metcalf largely echoed what Pat Freiermuth said when I asked him about it. And I said, look, DK, can you tell that this is something different for Aaron Rodgers? And he said, no. I mean, he wants to get out there. The last couple teams left a bad taste in his mouth, but it's because he likes being a quarterback. He likes playing the game, and he wants to win as many games as he can. I said, are you concerned about getting off to a slow start because you haven't had all the game reps together? And he said, no, not me. That's what everybody else is worried about.
Oh, I love it. No worries there. Maybe some fantasy owners paying attention to that as well. Thanks so much to Brooke. Here's Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson today on facing Brian Flores in the Vikings defense.
They blitz more than any other team on any down. They load up the box. They typically want, many rushers, rushing the QB, as many one-on-ones at the least that they can have.
It's hard to have any breather plays this week. It's just the nature of how Flo calls it. And, we got to be locked in if we want to have success against this defense.
It's interesting. Our Bears reporter Courtney Cronin joining us now. Courtney, what are you hearing about the Bears' approach to this matchup specifically?
Yeah, Laura, like all of us, Ben Johnson acknowledged that he has a level of curiosity for how Caleb Williams is going to look against the Minnesota Vikings. He called it the giant unknown, and there are some things that lead the Bears to think the amount they can put on Caleb Williams' plate will be greater than maybe the last time he would have faced Minnesota. So much of that deals with the fact that this is a defense that has pressured teams at a higher rate than anybody else in the NFL over the last 2 seasons. But how they're able to get there with Caleb Williams depends on what he's able to do in practice this week, because the Bears are at a point where they're paring down the playbook. So that should alleviate some of the pre-snap issues that they've shown throughout the preseason. And it's also going to determine how Ben Johnson calls this game and what he said, how much he's able to put on Caleb Williams' shoulders to be able to carry this team. Now, one area Williams addressed today that he feels more comfortable with, something he wants to use as a weapon against the Vikings, is his cadence. Tight end Cole Kmet told me that he felt in Kansas City during the preseason game, he had his best game of the preseason getting off the ball. And that was a credit to Williams, how he used the cadence there, and something that they feel could be to their advantage on Monday night at Soldier Field.
Ooh, that's really interesting. We'll be there to keep an eye out for that for sure, and maybe you'll see it in game. Thanks so much to Courtney. Dan, Ben Johnson, very familiar with Brian Flores and this Vikings defense. What will you be watching for specifically as he faces it with a completely different team and different personnel?
Yeah, second down. Now, Ben Johnson's had Brian Flores' number. You know, when he was the coordinator for 3 years in Detroit, the Lions averaged 31 points a game versus the Vikings defense. No one else did that. And the reason why is because he would often take second down and treat it like third down, anticipating a lot of pressures. This is the Lions last year. Has he taught Caleb Williams to anticipate that pressure? Is that safety going to blitz, or is he going to drop back? And what are the answers on those second downs where when you think that linebacker is going to trigger and that safety's playing with depth, are they going to turn around and hand it off to DeAndre Swift? No, they're going to kick this ball to the perimeter to a player like a DJ Moore and try to make sure that they're just staying ahead of those third and obvious passing situations. The way that they handle some of those blitz protections or getting the ball out on the perimeter to some of their backs. This time they motion. It's 2nd and 6. We're not trying to get the 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. They're trying to outflank the defense, try to beat the defense with speed to the sidelines. And a player, again, like last year, it's Gibbs. This year, it could be DeAndre Swift out on the perimeter. And then when you get into those second longs and you're anticipating some of those all-out potential looks, Ben Johnson got creative with how they wanted to block it. When do they take their shots against it? When do you call the play? And do they have the people to handle some of those protections to take advantage of a safety getting out of the incorrect position and some of their perimeter players down the field? Now, Jared Goff had run that for years. He could run it asleep. Is Caleb there yet? And I think the reality for Ben with Flo is, it's not the play, it's when he calls it, you know, and I think that will be the most fascinating part when it comes to that part of the game is, when does Ben call the plays and how does Caleb understand why he's calling it?
And it's almost like the pre-snap operation is maybe just as important as the post-snap operation this week against Brian Flores, who, of course, Caleb Williams is going to see twice a season going forward for as long as Flores is with the Vikings in that defensive coordinator capacity. But it's going to be a lot of stuff that Dan just showed you, and then a lot of stuff that Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and maybe even guys on the Vikings defense have never seen before, right? This is the ultimate wrinkle thrower, is Brian Flores on the defensive side of the ball. When the Bears have looked effective so far, when they did look effective in preseason, it felt like Caleb Williams understood pre-snap what was coming. It's a whole different level. Right? That was as vanilla could be. But if they're going to succeed in a big-time way this upcoming year and going forward, it's going to be because Caleb Williams becomes as comfortable in Chicago as Jared Goff had become in Detroit, in which, yes, the execution was high and the talent was great, but they were just outsmarting you before the ball was even snapped as well.
Yeah, Courtney's reported all summer long, it seems like, just about how complicated this offense is. And they're loading him up, but maybe there's a little bit of time for that adjustment to happen. Marcus, on the other side of the ball in this one is J.J. McCarthy. His very first NFL start. What do you want to see from him?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating how Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, deploys this defense as well. Do you want to test the first-time starter and try to speed him up as well? Obviously, with having those weapons outside, especially Justin Jefferson, You don't want him to wreck the game, so you cut the head off the snake. I'm interested to see, because this is also, there's a narrative that's going to be derived from this game. One, it being a divisional opponent, but ultimately we saw Sam Darnold have a tremendous amount of success, and we've given Kevin O'Connell a tremendous amount of credit for what he's been able to do with the quarterbacks in this offense in Minnesota. So if it doesn't look well, we're going to squarely place the blame on a young quarterback, unfairly.
Yeah.
We will talk about J.J. McCarthy, and if the development is going to have to take place during the season, and are you going to have to sacrifice wins and potential success of what we've grown accustomed to in order to develop a kid that you drafted late that's getting his first reps in a divisional game? I'm super interested in the plan for J.J. McCarthy and also Dennis Allen plan defensively and how he tries to heat this young quarterback up, who I could still consider a rookie.
Yeah, it's funny because as much as it's maybe a positive when you look at the game from a Vikings standpoint that Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold had Pro Bowl seasons in their first year under Kevin O'Connell, if that doesn't happen for J.J. McCarthy, everyone's going to be like, well, it's not Kevin O'Connell's fault.
It's fair to have big expectations for McCarthy.
We're back here on NFL Live. We've got our draft expert, Field Yates, with us today. Have a little rookie watch. I'm excited about this. Let's hear from Cam Ward first, though, who faces the Broncos defense on Sunday.
Know your protection. Get the ball out. Don't let them kill you. I mean, that's really all you can do to handle pressure, no matter what the blitz you call. The blitz still got to get there. So, a lot of stuff can get watered up at the line of scrimmage. But, I'm just continue to listen to my coaches who, prep me, for the past week's preseason game, protect myself, and then put the ball in the playmaker's hand.
Field, what will you be watching from Ward?
Yeah, well, clearly Cam Ward's been doing his homework, Laura, because the Broncos might have the deepest group of edge pass rushers in the NFL. Pressure comes from all angles. They can also rush them from the interior. One of the things that Cam got away with at times in college, maybe even often in college, is playing schoolyard football. You know why? Because he could. He's a good athlete, and the defenses in college aren't like the defenses of the Denver Broncos. You got to play fast, be quick, but don't be hurried, and you got a chance to at least put together some momentum. It's going to be a very difficult task in Denver on Sunday, but Cam Ward, I'm looking for signs of progress in what should be a very exciting day for the entire city of Nashville.
Field, as you know, the Titans love Cam Ward. They believe they have their quarterback of the future. He's been everything that they've wanted and more. But I don't know that many people could draw up a tougher Week 1 assignment in his NFL debut than having to travel in Denver to hear those fans scream incomplete, to face the Broncos pass rush in that environment, in altitude, against maybe one of the toughest defenses in the league. This is going to be a huge, tough task for Cam Ward. Now, I think about other rookie debuts, and sometimes rookies go on the road. RG3 did it in New Orleans when it was said to be a tough place, and he lit up the Saints and beat them, led them Commanders of the Washington franchise to an upset over New Orleans. So it can be done, but this is about as tough of an assignment as Cam Ward could draw in Week 1.
And Cam Ward would be the 6th straight quarterback taken #1 overall to start in Week 1 since Kyler Murray in 2019. It's been a while since that's happened. All right, next, 2 top 10 picks in the Panthers-Jags game. Maybe we get to see Tetairoa McMillan and Travis Hunter match up, but we'll definitely get to see them both on the field at some point. Here's Liam Cohen on facing the Panthers receivers.
We've got to be able to make it harder on them with changing the picture, because they are younger, and try to give them different looks potentially, and so not everything they're seeing is exactly what they are expecting to get at times. And also, doing a good job within our zones, getting hands-on reroutes, things like that.
Man, Tetairoa McMillan's a tough matchup no matter what you do. But, Field, what are you watching in this one?
Yeah, it would be Tetairoa McMillan being potentially covered by Travis Hunter. We'll see how much defense he plays. These guys do have some history from their days playing against each other in college, of course, at Colorado and Arizona, respectively. And I got to be honest with you, Tetairoa McMillan can give Travis Hunter some challenges, right? The strength of his game is size, physicality, and contested catch situations. Travis Hunter, as we know, coming into the draft, perhaps the only question mark surrounding him is he's 187 pounds. Not this super physical cornerback. I also want to see the chemistry between Bryce Young and Tetairoa McMillan. We saw it in small doses in preseason, but will Bryce continue to trust Tetairoa McMillan down the field? If he does, great things can happen.
I think it's also where they line him up, how much they move him around, how much they try to force him to football. Dave Canales, who's the head coach play caller, did it a little bit with DK Metcalf in Seattle, did it a little bit with Mike Evans in Tampa. So how much does Tet know that they can move him around? And then for Travis, I want to see when he plays. Are we playing him? Is there a package on first down? Is it second and long? Is it third and obvious passing situations? Does he play outside? Does he play inside? Is it only man? That's going to be the really interesting thing for me, and specific to him is really both these guys is when do they play, where do they play, and how much are they capable of handling mentally for their roles?
Yeah, as we saw in preseason, Travis Hunter played both offensive and defense. They've said a little more offense than defense, but still, we don't know what it's going to look like. I cannot wait to see how they manage it. Ashton Jeanty making his Raiders debut against the Patriots, by the way. So here's quarterback Geno Smith on Jeanty.
I'm so excited for him. Like, not just this one game. Obviously, it's our most important game, but just as he grows throughout his career, throughout the season, all the experiences. I can think back and being a rookie, and there's a lot of things that you don't know and you have to experience in order to gain that, knowledge that you need. So for me, I try to help him as much as I can, but there's things that he's just got to learn through experience, and I look forward to really helping him and guiding him through that.
Field, how heavily will this Raiders offense lean on Jeanty?
Yeah, Laura, I sure hope it is about as heavily as this young man can handle. This is like having a Ferrari and taking it out of the garage and giving it a joyride for 60 minutes on Sunday in Foxborough, Massachusetts. We all know the rushing upside for Ashton Jeanty. He had Barry Sanders-esque production this past year with that combination of size, physicality, contact balance, and explosiveness in the open field. I think also it should be noted that the year prior to that, he led all FBS running backs in receiving yards, 567. It's a thin backfield behind him. No reason why this player, Ashton Jeanty, should not be challenging for 70 to 75% of the snaps in this Las Vegas offense, which in the NFL is a big number for a starting running back.
Yeah, Phil, I agree, babyface. One of the exceptions to the running back rule is what I call these type of guys, the Christian McCaffreys of the world, the Alvin Kamaras, the Saquon Barkleys. He should be used in that way: screen game, swing passes, getting him in space, potentially lining him up on the outside or motioning him to the outside and getting him the ball right away, as with running the football out of the backfield. Chip Kelly has one of those pieces that you can dictate offensively what you want defenses to do and try to find those matchups, and I expect them to do it well along with a physical run game, because Pete Carroll is the head coach and we know what he's accustomed to. Geno will benefit obviously from Ashton Jeanty too, based on his success with the play action pass. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him, but like Babyface said, they will use him a lot. Boogie, growing up where I grew up, we had a store right on the corner of the neighborhood. We call it the corner store. Yeah. You could buy groceries, you could buy toiletries, you could buy candy, you could buy every damn thing possible in that store. That's Ashton Jeanty as a human. Everything you need to do, he has in this toolbox.